Hello everybody, this is Trina Lowry with Chat with Trina, formerly So You Want to Dance Live, and I'm here today with Joe Norman, a longtime friend of mine in the Zydeco community. I'm so excited. With it being Black History Month, I thought it would be great to hear some Houston Zydeco history. My swing out dancers know that my first love was Zydeco before I started swing out, even though I couldn't Zydeco. But anyway, so we're going to get right to it, Joe. Even though I've said your name, can you please say your name again?
Oh, I'm Joseph Norman.
Joseph Norman.
Everybody call me Joe.
Okay. You know, I used to call you Zydeco Joe until I found out there was an actual Zydeco Joe,
that
though.
was actual Zydeco Joe.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
So tell me about yourself. Like, where are you from?
Ooh, gosh. I was born in Opelousas, Louisiana, right? Well, a little town right outside Opelousas, Bellevue.
Oh, I don't know why. I thought you was, I was going to say Houston.
No, my parents left there when I was about 7 or 8 years old.
Okay.
Like that. So I actually grew up in Houston.
Okay.
Actually, I grew up in both places.
Right. Right. You still have relatives. I'm sure you went back and
yes,
forth. Okay.
yes.
Is that where you found Zydeco? Of course, where you got Zydeco? Where that came into you?
Yeah. To be honest with you, when I was coming up, they didn't call it Zydeco.
Oh, really?
They called it La La. Yeah, I would go to the La La dance.
You know, Shelly Dijon, ASLD, you ever heard of them? They have a Zydeco, the little studio area sometimes, but she had a La La, and I had never heard of La La, so that's where she got it from. Shelly, see there, you knew more than I knew about Zydeco. Okay, so La La. Okay, so when did it change? Or?
Clifton Chenier came out with a song called Zydeco Pasale, which means it's not beans and not salty.
Oh,
That's
God.
in French. Actually, that recording was here in Houston.
Okay.
And it got popular, and that's where the name
The name
Zydeco
on
come
it.
from.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's definitely some good history. I didn't know that.
That was in the I guess 70s or I can't remember exactly what year it was.
Okay. But I'm glad that's a good one because she had a La La. And I was like, who's that? I've heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
What schools did you attend here?
Here, graduated of Phillips Reed High School.
Oh, that's my mama's school.
In the nickel.
Yeah. That was my mama's school. So Zydeco came in your life when you were in Louisiana,
Yes.
because that's what they did. They were La La.
Yes.
So when you moved here, when did you actually get into the scene?
Ooh, gosh. Now, growing up as a young teenager or a kid, and of course I was always coming back to Louisiana, back and forth and stuff like that. But in the Houston area, places that I remember, Continental
Look at that.
on Cavalcade, not Cavalcade, or Crane.
Okay.
And Free Indian Lounge, all in Frenchtown.
Okay.
And
What is
that's
Frenchtown considered? Like, what is that?
There's a part of Fifth Ward on the northern side of Fifth Ward.
Okay.
Greenhurst into, I think, I'm thinking Lockwood.
Okay.
Cavalcade.
That area. Okay. Like where Mr. A's is, that area.
That area there.
Okay. Okay, so yeah.
That's called
Crane.
Frenchtown.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you're going on Lions Avenue, there's a sign that talks about Frenchtown.
Really?
All that kind of good stuff.
Okay. I have to peek at that. So what I wanted to get into is some of Zydeco history, which you already given me a little bit. Where did it start growing here? Like, I know it's from Louisiana, but here in Houston. Would Step Burrito have been the first band here, or no?
Oh, no.
No, really? I'm way ahead, huh?
No, I mean, I grew up with people like, Wilford Chavez and Thibodeau and people like that. Of course, Clifton Chenier came out here some also. And I remember seeing people like Yusef, Lazar, and I could probably go on and on. So it's, traditionally, it's when the people from Louisiana moved here, it was in the 30s, Depression time, and they kept moving from the 30s through the 50s, and they brought the culture with them.
Gotcha. Okay, and it just kind of caught on to people, I guess, to other people rather.
Yeah.
Well, so you hear people say Zydeco, some people say Creole. Is it the same?
No.
Okay.
So
See how much I know.
Yeah, Zydeco Pasale. So it's not beans and not salty. That's that's how that term came up, Zydeco.
Okay.
The French La La.
Okay.
From Creole people.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Creoles are mixed with French and English or Spanish and English and stuff like that, you know. basically a French and African mix.
Okay.
And the Indian, the native Indian. A lot of
Okay.
people don't realize that native Indians had a lot to do with the music and the stuff like
Right.
that. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So Creole is people.
Okay.
And a
It's
culture.
not the
Has
okay.
nothing
Do with
I
the
mean,
music necessarily.
Well, they created the music, man.
Uh-huh.
They went from La La to Zydeco,
Okay.
but they picked up the accordion and it just
Yeah.
grew.
Okay.
It just grew. The popularity of the word Zydeco came from Clifton Cheniers' song Zydeco Paso Lake.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's where it picked up and it just kind of grew from there.
Okay. Now I remember. Now we talked earlier about Vernell's.
Yeah, Vernell's.
Yeah, so that was one of the places. And I remember. I took Zydeco class from Willie at what's the club that used to be upstairs? Club Classic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I took it there. I mean, that's probably where I first started out at.
Yeah.
But I mean, is there anything that you could give us about some Houston history besides?
Well, if you go back, back in the 50s and the 60s and 70s, and you're talking about a place like the Continental, a place called Comey, the Silver Slipper.
I remember that. Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, you can go
Yeah.
back that far. No places, Crazy Lounge, places like that. But on the radio station KCOH, back then, Gigi played Zydeco music. So in the 60s and 70s, that was she was just part of her radio show and stuff like that. So I remember listening to that way back then in the 60s.
Wow. I'm sitting there thinking about the Silver Slipper. It was open that long.
Yeah. I'm not sure when it started, but it's been there a while.
Okay.
The Cormier's are in that place.
And so, as far as we'll move up some too, because you told me about those people. So let's move up to right before Step came out. Like, what was that? Who was popular then? Like, that was Clifton Chenier. Is he still alive? Okay, that sounds so crazy.
In middle age, where Clifton passed away.
Okay.
But Step Guido, gosh, it was in the 80s.
Okay.
All right. And J. Paul was playing the drums for him.
Yes. That I remember that him and Raymond was playing something else.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm thinking by that time is when
You start picking up.
you see who that is?
That's funny. People are you kind of getting Andre Theory. Is he in Houston? He's out of town.
He's in California.
California. Okay.
He's in
Yeah.
California.
I think I hear him every so often when he does come here.
Yeah. Anyway, he's working on coming back for something. Anyway,
See, he get all the popular phone calls, y'all. Everybody calls Joe for everything.
But I remember Step. There was a time Steve Delashore had the Cross beside the Zydeco Festival.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And so there was a lot of the popularity. To be honest with you, it kind of spread out a little bit more with that.
With the festival.
With that Zydeco Festival. Went from clubs to a festival. And you had a lot of musicians.
Right.
Zydeco bands that was playing there. So I think that had a lot to do with pumping it up a little bit. But the clubs did real good also, and it just
We'll go from there. I was going to mention the Zydeco Festival too, because I would say that because it's so many. I'm going to just mention that with the what do you call them, the trail rides. I know that's come a little bit different now.
Yeah, it came a little bit later on.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. The trail ride has been around a long time. When they had their first Zydeco band, they just kind of got hooked on it.
Oh, so they weren't. That's why sometimes, like my aunt, her name is Pat Hedden, and she's a trail rider, but she do not like Zydeco.
Yeah.
So there are some trail riders that are just not into Zydeco, they like country western more so.
Yeah,
But that's where they kind of started having the bands.
And they got popular with trail riders.
Okay.
That way. And then, of course, the clubs. The clubs, clubs just started growing. They started picking up restaurants like Jack's Bar and Grill.
Matter of fact, guys, I meant to say that we are at the famous, popular Jack's Bar and Grill. I thought that would be the perfect place for us to do this.
And I think it was in the 80s. I'd have to go back late 80s when they started here. But the popularity just picked up, and it's just been continuous. But there were festivals all around Houston. You could go to Beaumont, you could go to Port Arthur.
Right. I miss those, and you know that they're bringing it back in March. I see somebody bringing the festival back. Trying to bring it back. Crosby.
Yeah, that's Crawberry.
Strawberry, yeah.
After Steve Fellowship, then Crawberry
picked
picked it up.
Okay.
From there, and then he.
Okay. Yeah.
So I came in between.
So you did a festival.
The Creole Heritage Zydeco and Crawfish Festival.
That is okay.
Yeah, I did it for 10 years.
But they still have it, but you don't do it anymore. You're not a part of it.
No,
Okay.
Well, we did it for 10 years.
Okay.
We were the first that did the party on the plaza downtown
Really?
Houston.
Yeah. But it was back then?
Yeah.
Really?
I had 5 bands.
Wow. See that, Joe?
Step Little, Brian Jack, Jimmy Del Fonz, Keith Frank.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay. Let me see. So Keith Frank, did he used to play here a lot in Houston? He's never been a Houston based.
He started. It was in the I think I went to his first time he played out here at the I can't remember the name of the place now. The Top of Town. Well, no, it wasn't Top of Town. It was another place.
Was it the one on like I-10? What is that place? There's a big place where everybody goes out of it, right? I can't think of the name of it.
I just drew a blank on that particular club. Okay. The Buffalo Soldiers
yes.
had a club, a place off of Cavalcade somewhere up in there.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, but it was over in that area there. And that was his first gig in the Houston area back in the 80s. And I just happened to be there. But I saw him in Louisiana.
Yeah, of course.
And then when he heard he was coming here, I had to go see him.
Okay.
That's how that works. So he and I, we kind of hooked up.
Now, let me see where I got all off of my notes. So let's go into some history. Events that originated in Houston. So the Creole Zydeco Festival was originated here, and then we had the Crosby Festival.
The Crosby originated in Crosby, but the guy that was putting on Steve Zetter's show, he was from the Houston area.
Oh, okay. And he decided to do something like that. It was actually really grew really
Oh, yeah,
big. That's when I first
good.
got into it, when the Crosby.
Oh yeah, it was very good.
I mean, those cars used to be everywhere. That used to be really cool.
Yeah,
I hope it works out this time, this go round, or it gets close to it. I know that. Like everything else, we have peaks and valleys. Would you feel like Zydeco right now is in a valley, or where would you see it at? Because I know that we don't have as many clubs doing Zydeco anymore.
Oh yeah.
Not any festivals.
The festivals are coming back. I think that everything is just spreading out. To be honest with you, there's more people doing more of it, so it's a little bit. Bumping heads. I shouldn't use that. But anyway, one club might be having to do a church band here.
Oh, yeah. And so it splits everybody up.
At the Trail Riders Avenue.
Gotcha.
So what happened is it spread out. And so it didn't
go to a valley.
There's just more people that are doing it.
Gotcha.
I mean, you go to restaurants and clubs and everything like that. And really it's spread out more so than anything else. So when you spread out like that, then the attendance may drop a little bit. But the popularity is still there.
Okay. Just in your opinion, I have my opinion. In your opinion, when it is spread out like that, and is there anything that can be done or any suggestion? Like, what could we do? Is it a matter of, well, we have ZydecoEvents.com, so we know when things are, but that's just kind of inevitable that we're going to bump dates like that?
Yeah, but as the popularity picks up, just like the trail riders coming on board and stuff like that. It used to be just the churches and a few clubs, okay? But now you got the trail riders, now you got festivals, and so you got all of that now. So I think the key to it now is that people need to observe and go with land, advance land, and things like that. They might have a bigger crowd, but you give a dance, a Zydeco dance, and it might be 4 or 5 of them in each
right,
The
exactly.
same thing is happening in Louisiana. I mean, it's
really?
spread out.
Really? Okay. So that's not just a Houston thing that it's.
Oh no, it's spread. Andre called me from California. He stays in California because he's booked up.
Okay. So California, I'm not meaning to change the subject. So in California, are they playing him as much in California? Because I know there's not. Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's one of my favorite festivals to go to. Go to Gator by the Bay or in San Diego.
Really? Okay. What time of year is that?
It's coming up in May, I think it is.
Okay. I always hear people go, why is he in Louisiana? I mean, why is he in California? Is what I always think.
Yeah, but people migrated from Louisiana, like I told you before, and they took that culture with them, and it didn't stop in the Houston. I-10 went and 90 went all the way to California. Right. So that's how it ended up in California.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the popularity. They even Zydeco bands where Andre lives there.
Right.
So
and I think Shirley Taylor went there recently.
These guys, they're playing, Curly was in Colorado. I think he's in Colorado now.
Okay.
but
he's another one of my favorites.
We've been, when I traveled with Brian, we went from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, big festivals and things like that,
You would never think that.
Same thing with Keith. But they get booked so much here now, they don't go like they used to. Okay.
So when it wasn't as popular here, they kind of were able to spread out more.
They were able to spread out more and stuff like that. But you got to do like CJ Chenier. Yeah, you don't hear him perform here.
Right.
Because, he might be in Germany, he might be on the East Coast, West Coast, in South America.
It's bigger than what I would think, to be honest with you. I would have never, that's new to me.
Well, France, Ruben Marino just got back from Germany.
Oh, wow, no.
But you got people like Rockin' Doopsy Jr. and stuff like that. I mean, they're playing in South America, everywhere.
Okay.
And they're on a different level. People like Terrence Sidian and CJ Chenier, they're playing out and about. They're not, you don't see them locally, and really they're not as popular locally as they are out.
And that's almost like R&B or jazz.
Just like R&B and jazz, the same thing. I was with. We're gonna skip.
That's fine.
Archie Bell.
Yeah.
I was with him, and Archie gets more gigs and more people in Europe than he does here. You remember Archie Bell? Tighten Up.
I went to his birthday party.
Tighten Up. So that's how some things change. Now he may not be able to draw a crowd here,
but he can go somewhere else.
He can make all kind of money somewhere else.
I have a friend, he was a jazz musician. He's in a nursing home now, but that was his biggest thing. He was like, it's crazy. I can't get booked here, but I can go to California or wherever and get booked every day.
Yeah, I traveled with Joe Sample. Me and him were pretty close with him. And he was playing in Japan.
Jeez, okay.
Like that. And you just,
you never would think, okay.
You never think, but Zydeco is on the same track as R&B and jazz. It's being played, and they're performing. If they can get away, they can go and play those areas.
So that's why Andre Theory, when he comes in, that's why it's so packed, because you don't get him here. And he's good, but you can't get him here that often. I went to see him at when Lila had Diallo.
Yeah.
I saw him there. That was the only time I've ever seen him. So Jax, that we were here at Jax. So this has been an ongoing thing, I guess. That 6 to 8 on Fridays, and then I guess whatever time on Saturday. So I remember people used to come here. They would go over to Mr. A's afterwards. Yeah, I remember those days. Friday night. You didn't stop here.
You still can do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Still do that.
Because I actually did it for the first time. I did that Friday night. I came here to see him, and then I went to see J. Paul over there. Okay.
That's.
See if there's any questions. Yeah, no questions so far. We talk about the valleys. So since your thought is that Zydeco is not really going down, you don't have a suggestion except that we all just kind of be aware and be mindful. What about the I hate to go here, but the the violence that's been happening the last couple of years with the trail rides. Do you have suggestions on that, or do you have any thoughts on that you want to speak on?
I guess I'm not really a trail ride person,
Right,
although
right.
I've been to some trail rides and some that I do go to because I know the people that
Of
put
course.
on. The main thing is security.
I
And
agree.
whether you got a trail ride, whether you got a club, or whatever.
That's true too.
Even just like at Jacksboro on Hill, you got to have
Oh, definitely.
You got to have security, and until those people address and
The
put
security.
that and raise the security up, then that violence part of it.
And it's worth the money. A life is worth the money to pay for security.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think so. And the festivals that I gave, we had everywhere from 5,000 to 12,000 people for each function they had, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Our major thing was security. We had internal security, but we had the city police at the same time, and that made a big difference.
Okay, yeah. So guys, we want to make sure everybody is safe. It's worth the money for the lives. I sometimes get afraid, because I don't do trail riding either, but when I was traveling with Jay Paul and them, I would go to some of the trail rides and see all the babies there. That's what would scare me so bad, especially once the violence started. So that's definitely something. We talked about the festival. So let's talk about ZydecoEvents.com that you used to have. What made you start Zydeco Events? What was the vision or the goal?
Knowing who was playing where. Back in the early 80s, there was a young man, I shouldn't say young man, maybe step with here, there was Mr. Mayon, and he did where you could call this number and you'd find out who's playing where.
Okay.
And he sort of kind of backed off of it a little bit, and Step Rito, one of his first tunes was you can call a certain number
Oh, really?
to reach Step Rito.
Okay.
8995. I can remember.
Too funny. It was a song?
Yeah.
Okay.
Step correctly on that. And I'm going like, okay. So I talked to Step, and I talked to Brian Jack, and I talked to Mr. Mayon.
Okay.
And I said, if you cutting back, I can't call and find out who's playing where.
Right.
And back then I was into computers and emails and stuff like that. And that's how that started. And both Brian and Steph was very helpful as far as getting me started on that.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayon, he had evasion when he had to step back and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And that's how Zydeco Events started. We did the phone first, and then we progressed to emails and from emails to the website.
To the website. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We went from, I'll say my first few months, it might have had like a couple of hundred people per head. And when I had to take a step back because I had too much on my plate, we were up to peak season around 70,000 hits a month. 70,000 hits a month, anywhere from 30 to 70,000 hits a month.
Well, I tell you, it's an important thing. I actually started, you probably remember that I started in the swing out community is what I did. That's how So You Want to Dance came about. And I took that view and I had all the swing out stuff going on for my website. So, y'all, So You Want to Dance, that's where that came from Joe doing the Zydeco. I did swing out for events from there.
I thank Mr. Mayon and Steph Rito and Brian Jack.
So now I know I got it from, I came all the way down the line.
They were very supportive.
And you just, I know that you have a million things on your plate, things that you do. That's why you decided to pass it on.
Yeah. I got into, when I retired from Exxon, I got into, invested into UPS stores.
Okay.
I had 4 stores, and it was just too much for me to manage, so I couldn't do it myself anymore. And so Mr. Rod Size from Louisiana started to step in.
Okay.
And I think he brought Global Love on, and they've been doing it.
They do a great job. It's definitely needed still, because people still say, oh, we're going to Zydeco Events, go check ZydecoEvents.com. Because even when I tried to put a little bit on the swing outs, it's just, that's way too much work to do swing out in Zydeco.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's definitely needed. Hey Chris, how are you doing? Chris Freeman.
Hey Chris, what's up, bro?
Let's see, you passed the torch. I know you're still out here supporting the Zydeco community. It's still as important to you to get out there and
I love it. It's in my blood.
Okay.
Yeah, and I try to go to as many events. I can't go like I used to.
Right.
That song by Zydeco Joe called "You Can't Rooster Like You Used to."
Yeah, you can't rooster no more. Not as much as you used to.
I was listening. Went to see Keith Frank a while back, and he said, "Do you want to go back?"
Oh yeah.
I said, "I don't know. There might be some."
That's too funny.
I don't want to go back.
I don't want to go back there. There's too much going on. That is so funny. What about I was gonna say something, lost my train of thought. So what are you doing now though? Like you down to 3. You gave up 1. What 3
yeah.
UPS stores? You got grandbabies. I know you got a one.
Yeah.
I met one.
Yeah, my daughter, she had twins. They're 2 years old.
Okay.
Girl and a boy.
Okay.
But my son, he's managing the stores, but it's still, you get to a point,
Is it hard for you to back off of stuff? Like when you left Zydeco events, was it hard for you to take totally hands off real quick?
Yeah, I found myself,
Yeah.
but I have to step. You have to step back and somehow.
And you have to know when it's that time to do so.
So, you get to a point when you get my age. When you get my age.
25.
I'm going on 75.
You still look great.
Yeah. So you get to a point where you got to step back.
Yeah.
And I could still be doing it, but I think people like Trina and other people that Greg Jones, he's doing Zydeco in Houston.
He's doing great. I'm going to interview him soon. He's doing a great job.
And they keep Zydeco going, and to me, I admire that, to be honest with you. That is occurring. It just makes me feel good.
Yeah. To keep it going, keep it going.
Yeah. And when I go to Louisiana, I have relatives, I have property in Louisiana and stuff like that. There's always a Zydeco event to go to, things like that. So you're back and forth. When I go to California, Andre.
That throws me off really big. Actually, my daughter's in San Jose right now for a training. I'm like, man, I should have went with it if I know they had Zydeco. So.
Oh yeah. One of the most interesting things that Gator by the Bay. Their setup is just perfect to me as far as Zydeco is concerned. Of course, they have blues bands, jazz bands, and stuff like that. And that's where I got some of my ideas for my Creole Heritage Festival, their setup. And then there was Long Beach, which was real popular at one time. Some of the most interesting places, and I'm going to tell this story because Brian and Jack will tell y'all, we went to the Katati Festival.
Okay.
It was a accordion festival in California.
Okay.
We had never heard of it.
Right.
So we got booked there. And the people there, they were just used to holders, check.
Okay.
They wouldn't even know the pound there or nothing like that. But they had their
accordion
way
for
of
that.
accordion and stuff like that. So when Brian got on stage, and everybody was just standing around like, hey, they black, stuff like that.
And he got up there and they didn't know what to do.
And when he started cooking, hey, it was on.
I
never forget that as long as I live. I had like 2 cases of CDs sold them.
Get out of here.
Just on that one session there. But so it kind of gives you a feeling for things reaching out and people, it's hard to think of, so many people are stuck on Cajun.
Exactly. And which brings me to that too. So that was around the time that J. Paul came out too. J. Paul and Brian Jack. J. Paul, Brian Jack, and somebody else. That the music kind of changed a little bit. More of the, I don't want to use the word hip hop, but more of a, they changed.
If you go back to the La La, then Clifton Chenier came along, and that was went to Zydeco, but he did a little bluesy type there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just a simple thing like that, a regular scrub bowl that you used to scrub your clothes with.
Yeah.
And Clifton's brother, he was the one that came up making the scrub bowl and stuff like that. But if you go from Clifton, then here comes along Davis and Bojack.
Okay, I'm with Bojack.
That was the next major change.
Okay.
And I mentioned those two, but you had several others at the same time, but they got into the R&B side of it.
Gotcha.
you know, well, Buzu had his a little bit bluesy and stuff like that, but Bojack was.
Okay, he took it more to some.
So you had that transition right there, and that
exactly.
Okay,
right.
and then of course you get in. I can name bands,
Right.
back and forth and stuff, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of how it transitioned from one point to the other.
Okay, I didn't know that Bojack. I thought he was like the regular. I've only heard like a few songs from him. Somebody played for me before, but he was big man.
Yeah.
Gosh, he was a huge man. Is that who I'm thinking? No. That's not who I'm thinking about. Who's a big, tall? That's Bojack, right? The big, tall. He's like a giant.
Heavy set.
Yeah.
Light skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like
Oh my
Bojack.
God, he's huge.
He wasn't real tall, but yeah.
He looked, well, from the picture, and I think about me being little. Maybe that's why he looked like a giant. When I saw.
Well, I tell you what, accordion looked small in his hand.
Oh yes, it did. It was okay. Did they used to have smaller accordions back then?
He really, when you think about Buzu and Bojack and John Delafrance, I mean, I can go through a lot of the things, but that transition, well, John stayed more on the Cajun or the la-la side of the Zydeco, where Bojack just kind of pushed it out. And some of the, matter of fact, he performed for me back in the 80s. When Rockin' Sydney came along, and we had the Sam Brothers Five. When I was helping the church with Zydeco bands and raising money, we had the Sam Brothers Five, we had John Delafrance, we had Bojack, we had Rockin' Sydney before Toot Toot and after Toot Toot.
Oh,
Don't mess with my Toot Toot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was back then. That
was your era.
In my era there. And I can go on and on, but I'm just using those as examples. And I mean, the church already passed. That was just one of those.
I remember going to a church called St. Monica. No, not St. Monica. When I was in high school. But there's a church. I can't remember. It was on South Acres. Off of South Acres. My grandmother used to live there. I remember hearing Zydeco way back then too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, mostly all of the black
they started in
churches in Houston area.
St. Monica is probably the one that does it the most, I guess. Not St. Monica. Where do you guys have the big? What is the church every year?
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's. That's where the huge festival is. Y'all can do it twice a year.
Well, in a sense, the Gumbo Festival, and then the Bazaar.
Okay, the Bazaar. Okay, those are huge. Those are really big. So, hi Arthur Carbon. How's it going?
What's happening?
You better get ready for your the cruise. Let's see what else. I think for me, I wanted to ask. Let me make sure I got my questions.
Talking about cruises.
Yes.
I went on a cruise. My first cruise I went on to was, listen up everybody, Keith Frank, Joe Sample, and jazz musician.
Okay.
Yvonne Washington. And I think there was a couple others there.
Really?
So it was a 7-day cruise to the Caribbean. And
cool.
I had such a good time when we got back to New Orleans. I caught a flight from New Orleans back to Houston. They had to wake me up to get me off the plane. Keith, you remember that, Keith? You wore me out.
That is too funny.
That's too much.
Well, this is Arthur Carter. And he's saying something about Buckwheat Zydeco?
Buckwheat, yeah.
Oh, he wanted to mention Buckwheat, I guess.
Yeah, Buckwheat.
What was Buckwheat from, Louisiana?
Yeah, he's from Louisiana, Lafayette area. Oh, Lord.
Okay, Africa. He sings, what is he? He just sings the song everybody does the line dance to.
Yeah, but gosh, he brought something up that Buckwheat can always close. But the Williams, El Cido, places like that, I have a certain attachment to that. But since he passed away and everything like that. Nathan Williams.
Nate's dad.
Not little Nate.
That's his dad.
The dad. And that family, Lafayette, El Cido, and all that. Buckwheat was
close to them.
That was the family.
I think it's so sad, some of those places that closed down. I only got to go to was it El Cido? I've been to the 3 little places that used to be the popular clubs down there. that?
Shores
Club.
And Slim's Waikiki.
Yeah, Slim. That's where I went. Slim's Waikiki. I went there right before. I think I probably was there for the last thing they had there.
Okay.
I just hate that those monumental places are just there.
But buckwheat, New Year's Eve was buckwheat. We performed at All Age Store to See.
Okay.
Miss Ruby Barris, in case you're listening, Ruby.
Okay.
She was the one that brought buckwheat on.
Okay.
All Age Store to See church.
Okay. Wow.
New Year's Eve.
Did buckwheat ever come here to Houston?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, you mean?
Store to See.
Okay, so I don't even know that.
All Age Store to See and Fidelity.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because I went to St. Matthews right there on.
But he played several other places.
Okay.
I have, Mr. Mayon used to give that festival downtown Houston. Yeah, buckwheat performed there. J. Paul performed there.
And Mr. A's has been a big supporter of Zydeco for a long time too. Very long time. Mr. Ashley,
Mike Ashley.
Yeah, Dr. Ashley always scares me. He has that big body. He got that. I'd be intimidated. I'm not intimidated by a lot of people, but him, I'd be like, yes, sir. Whatever.
Yeah, he and I go very
back. Yeah.
We tight.
Yeah. Buckwheat played at Arlette. Okay, he said that. He was telling you what Buckwheat played. Let's see. We talked about Buckwheat. We talked about the clubs. You said something that made me come on to another topic that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned. Do you have anything else in regards to Houston Zydeco that you want to mention or say that we haven't touched on?
Oh gosh, it continues to grow. It's spreading out. The crowds are much larger to me. You got a lot of bands that are playing here. So, it's a culture we just need to keep alive. The only thing I can say is that I love the fact that these young musicians are stepping out.
Yes.
They rapping a little bit, they're hip hopping a little bit into the Zydeco, okay? But they also need to include some old school within their performances and stuff like that.
Right. To keep the culture.
To keep the culture. So, when I go see Noonie or J. Paul or something like that, when J. Paul goes to old school Zydeco.
Yeah.
So you see
feel
what I mean?
it. Yeah, exactly. Just make sure they keep that in the
But he does his thing. I love it. As long as they include the old school Zydeco.
Right. To keep, exactly. On that note, so some people on the swing outside or club owners will ask me about giving Zydeco or whatever, and they'll want to do, I don't know, like Prospect. They're doing Zydeco and then they'll have the city, like a not rock and roll, what is it, pop or R&B band. In my opinion, sometimes Zydeco people are, I shouldn't say it like that, but Zydeco community, they want Zydeco.
Yeah.
Sometimes they will not come if they know that there's another. Would you agree with that, or am I not even that fast?
It all depends. It all depends. There's some, like the swing out dancers, may not like Zydeco.
Right. Yeah.
But I know some of them that do.
They do. Right. It's the same
and
with
vice
Zydeco.
versa.
Okay.
It goes out. The younger group today, just like the trail rides and some of the other events, I'm used to dancing on the dance floor.
Yeah.
And these guys, they stand
on the dance floor. Yeah.
So to me, this get back to dancing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I don't mind. I just don't mind it, but they need to
have a place where you can.
They need to respect the dance floor. Okay. Now, if you want to stand up next to the stage, maybe 4 or 5 feet, but let the dancers have
their
dance floor.
Yeah.
So that's to me that's a negative thing about that. Some of the crowds, the audiences now,
it's like a concert.
It's like a concert, and they're standing on the dance floor. They're having a good time, but I'm a dancer.
We want to dance. Yeah, that is absolutely true. I agree with that, and I've heard and seen a lot of that. As a matter of fact, at the Red Rooster South, the sound guy used to work for J. Paul, Kiki. He set it up to where the band sets up over the side so that people won't want to stand there, and it actually works. It really works to where they're not up there on the dance floor.
And I hate to say it, to me, Zydeco is dancing. I mean, just like
you can't help but dance. In my opinion,
with the beat, it's just like you go to a swing out. It's the same.
I want to dance.
You want to dance, and it's I went to a Hunter place the other day, and they wanted to dance, so the dance floor was clear.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's do the same thing.
Let's do the same thing. Have respect for people there to dance. Because I mean, if you're gonna listen to dance, it's seats, or you can stand around the dance floor.
Yeah.
You remember what was Fragrance?
Yeah.
Yeah, that made me think about it, because how you could stand around and still see everything. Yeah. I miss her. I can't think of her name right now, but she used to. Yeah, she was a nice lady.
But, I miss some of the old.
Don't forget about Little Brian Terry.
Look at Lil Brian Terry. That's a good one right there. Lil Brian Terry was one of the first. I worked with Lil Brian a couple of times when his performances and stuff like that. But Lil Brian was a little bit ahead of his ball game.
Okay.
He was a little bit ahead of the ball game as far as being able to cross over to the younger people.
Okay.
Things like that.
So where was this? Where was this in?
This was in Houston.
No, I mean, was this before? Who did you mention? Bojack? Was this around that time or after?
Yeah, it was.
Around that time.
Bojack was still around when Lil Brian was coming.
I had never heard of it.
Same thing with. He was the same time frame with Step and Brian.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit on, but Lil Brian Terry, he got popular. He played all over the U.S.
Really? Is he still around? Is he passed on? Okay. He's passed on.
I mean, maybe it's Mike announced that, but
Okay.
I miss him.
Oh, okay. Was he young?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking he's probably along with Step right now. Probably with Step's age right now. A little bit older, but he was a little bit around when Step started out and stuff like that.
Joe and Trina, we need to have Andre Theory, Corey Ledette, and Step Rito at a church. We got you. We gonna get it done. We gonna do something.
I got Andre waiting on me to talk to him right now.
So he gonna bring it up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your ideas. Matinee, church matinee.
Yes, sounds like a winner.
Yeah, Corey Ledette.
Yes. Corey's from the Houston area.
Okay.
But he's in Louisiana.
Oh. So he did just the opposite. He migrated over to
Well,
Louisiana.
we had, we mentioned Lil Brian Terry, but a lot of people forget about Corey Ledette and Cedric Watson.
Okay.
See, they were here. They were playing at Jack's. Or they were playing at
186.
There's some other locations. The Big Easy. Okay. And a place called Shakespeare's. I don't know if you heard of Shakespeare's. Okay. But those guys, played like that.
Right.
But Corey's in Louisiana, and he's doing good. Real good.
Okay.
Cedric Watson is doing real good, too.
Okay.
But they're in Louisiana.
So those guys, they're still playing?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first time I saw Cedric, he was right outside of Houston, but here at Jack's, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And talking about somebody playing the violin.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, the other guy that we haven't mentioned is like Jeffrey Broussard.
Okay.
When he played here and he pulled that violin out and he started playing, people went like, wow, how did you do that? Or you get Brian Jack when he pulls the harmonica out. So to me, that's just the talent that these guys got.
Yeah, definitely.
And Corey plays the piano.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, him and Andre. And
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew Andre. The time I did see him, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Wow, I wouldn't think about all that. So tell us, because something I didn't know. We talked earlier. You used to manage or help promote Brian Jack.
Well, yeah, we traveled a lot, and
Okay.
we worked together and things like that, and it's just that I couldn't go,
All those places that you had
all
yourself
places. And then, he had to refocus on
Family.
where he was playing and family and things like that. So
That's something I do appreciate. It when you call him, he'll say, "Oh, I'll call you back. I take my little girl to school," and I was like, I love that.
Yeah, and he don't travel as much as he used to.
Exactly.
But whenever he was going, I'm
you
like,
right
Brian,
there.
can I go? Matter of fact, I did a cruise with him too.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Roll me out.
Those cruises they're a lot of fun. Even so, sometimes we get like this time we got a few people say they didn't want to go because we're going back to Cozumel, but I told them it's like, well, Mom always said, well, it's like Galveston. You go to Galveston a million times, but there's always something different to do. But the thing is, the shows are what the big deal is. For me, that those shows can get due because everybody's pumped. You know, you drink all day, all night, so so it's just it becomes a big party. So we've had some good.
Yeah, you're right, Arthur. He's from Sealy.
Okay, he's from Sealy. Okay, you
But
see better than me.
But yeah, I've been on 7 cruises, mostly all Zydeco cruises. The first one I mentioned to you. Then,
That's why I asked you about the people being open to regular music versus Zydeco music, because when you said that Keith Frank went and it was an R&B person went, and it still
and
was
Joe
good.
Sample was a
jazz musician. Yeah, so that's really.
Yeah,
I bet that was nice.
Now that I mentioned that, because Joe has passed, but I worked with him both on jazz side, and then I did Zydeco also. But I worked with Joe. We did fundraisers, and Joe worked with him. We started off with 100 Black Catholics again, and what we did was raise money for scholarships and stuff like that. The same thing with my Creole Heritage Festival. We were 501c3. All the proceeds went to giving out scholarships. And you don't see that, one of those other areas that I can tell you that does that now is Mr. Dwight Judge of the Black Professional Cowboys Association. And the money goes to that. So I don't know. I just kind of lean toward things like that.
Right, definitely.
We do fundraisers. I've helped Mother Mercy Catholic Church. We sent 10 or 12 kids to Washington D.C. Brought Gino Delphonse in, and things like that. But that's more what I lean to, and I've always leaned toward that as far as fundraisers.
Because it's so important
for the youngsters.
The last thing I would talk about Vernell's a little bit. How long did that last? How long was Vernell's?
Well,
I know that was very popular, right?
Yeah, Vernell's was around a long time. And back on South Main, she had her first sports bar, and then she moved over on off of Fuquay, and then from there to Alameda, the big place, stuff like that. And she always had a Zydeco band, Steph Rito and J. Paul, I can go on and on. And then when she and I partnered up, we started doing blues and Zydeco. And her Friday nights were just dead. She said, Joe, I don't know what to do my Friday nights, and then my Sundays are just dead. Yeah. And so we took the Fridays and we tried to do as much R&B and blues and stuff like that. And then on Sundays we started doing Zydeco. And then it got to where Fridays I had to bring my band in. So anytime, you had Steph Paul, Brian, Chris Armstrong, Lil Nate,
197.
Keith Frank would come in, and the place was packed. And the first gigs that Chris had in Houston and Lil Nate, I brought him to the Houston area. I think it was Chris first time.
Was Chris with his brother then? Was Chris with his brother then? Was it what was it called? I forgot what that band was called. It was called the...
yeah, Sean Ardoin?
Yeah,
Sean and Chris, the road band.
I know they, yeah.
But that was very popular at Vernell. And she loved it also. And so she, that's what we did. We did those type of bands, and we had Bobby Boo Band, Patrick Henn, Marvin Cease.
So you did a variety of music.
Yeah, we did a variety of music there. But we got, Zydeco got good there. Really good.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking the other day that, was it this weekend? One day we were talking, it was on Saturday, I was talking to somebody. No, it couldn't have been Saturday. Whatever. Yesterday, we were saying, boy, there was no Zydeco going on Saturday. I don't know Ray Adams. But Joe, I think that's it.
Okay,
We have so much.
I'm sorry, my memory not as good as
No,
it used
you
to
did
be.
great.
Okay,
I have learned so much. And when I get when Steph have his date, guys, Steph was gonna be here, but he wasn't able to be here. When I get Steph, I'm gonna have to bring you back. I think that'll be so much fun for y'all to talk together.
Oh yeah,
at the
that'd
same
be
time.
fine with me. But
Yeah.
one suggestion is
Okay.
there's a young a man that I work with, Roger Wood. He did a book called Zydeco.
Okay.
If you get that book, you get into the history, of course, of French Town
Okay.
and Clifton Chenier and all that stuff that in the Houston area and where it came from and everything like that.
Oh,
I'd
wow.
recommend the book. And everyone, Roger and I worked together on that book. And it's called Zydeco.
Okay, well, I'm gonna definitely look into
Roger
that.
Woods.
Okay. Well, y'all look up Zydeco by Roger Woods. Hey, Nicole, LeBlanc.
Hey,
Where's
Nicole.
Floyd? So I'm definitely gonna
Tell
replay
Floyd
this.
I'm on the way.
You heard it, Nicole? So thank you, Joe, again for this history. I've learned a lot today. Again, Steph wasn't able to make it tonight, so we're gonna have another date to where I think these two are gonna have a ball. I think we're gonna be 2-3 hours talking to them if we have them together. Maybe bring Brian too at the same time. I haven't talked to him yet.
Step and I go, baby.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun. This was kind of a last minute thing. He said he's here. She said he's here. Floyd is. But thank y'all so much. But just FYI again, this is Chat with Trina. Oh, he said she'll tell me he get ready. Oh, Arthur is in the book. Arthur Carter said he's in the book.
Yeah.
Okay. Arthur, I don't know you, but I'm going to find out about you because I'm going to get the book. I hope I get to meet you soon. But this is Chat with Trina. I'll be on every single Monday at 7 p.m. on Facebook Live. It'll not always be Zydeco. It'll be Zydeco, Swing Out, business owners, club owners. If you're someone who wants to get your business, this is the platform. This platform is for you. So you come out, talk about your upcoming festival, events. That's what this is for. What else? So that's again, we're at Jack's Bar and Grill. They let us sit out here and enjoy their patio. Thank you guys. See you next Monday at 7. And this will play on my YouTube channel, Chat with Trina YouTube channel. And I'll definitely play it on the Facebook channel again. Thank you again, Joe, for everything.
Anytime.
All righty. Bye.